All right, guys, we are live, an impromptu live. Wanted to talk about some things as we wrap up the evening today. Talk about some success that we've been having in trials, some tribulations that have been occurring, some of the things that are in the near future that are coming up for us, as well as we can also talk about the European buy trip that just occurred. So I'll just wait for some people to jump on here, and then we'll get started. Seven p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I see a bunch of you guys getting on here. Joran, hi from the Netherlands. Hello indeed. Having just come from there, I can say the weather was very nice while I was there. What does helper certification look like? Helper certification is, the various organizations, the various national organizations that govern IGP in various countries will have helper certifications, which is basically a combination of a seminar and then also a testing process to determine if helpers are ready to work club trials. And if they're ready to work club trials, they're certified to work on the club trial. And for those helpers that already have some experience, they're certified to the regional level. And then the national level, I don't think is actually covered in the helper seminar. So. Somebody says, Christoph says, hi Haz, hope everything is well. I'm wondering if it is possible for a dog to be intrinsically aggressive. 100% it is. There are many dogs that are naturally aggressive, and the aggression can be triggered by a variety of different things, whether it's social pressure, whether it's resource guarding behavior. There's a lot of different reasons why a dog may choose to be aggressive, and it is certainly an intrinsic behavior, not, as many people would like you to believe, a learned behavior. It is certainly in many cases intrinsic, and the triggers for it are certainly intrinsic. Good morning from the Philippines. That's from Raphael. Joran says, it was indeed good weather. You were very lucky with the weather. Oh, I'm glad. It was very nice while I was there. We've got the Freedom Method. How's it going from upstate New York, Saratoga Springs? We got hello from Alaska, from Frost. Don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, indeed. I appreciate that, Mr. Frost. Please, indeed, hit the like button. I don't ask for a lot for these lives, but I would ask that you hit the like button. It is completely free. It takes you absolutely no effort at all. Hit that like button. We got Florida in the house. We got Nigeria in the house. We got a lot of Florida in the house from the looks of it. Texas. We got a fair few people in the house. All right, guys, I am going to get started. We got Australia. Good day from Australia. We learned so much from your videos, Haz. Thank you. Well, thank you, Finnish Lapland. I'm glad that you did. All right, guys. I am going to get started. I see some of you dropping questions in here. I'll try to get to them after the fact. Let's talk about some things that I would like to talk about. So first of all, congratulations are in order to a number of people that have been training with me. As you know, that I train with a number of different people, dog sport. I train IGP, and then I have a friend of mine that does PSA, Lucas. So in the last 2 weeks, combined, everybody has earned approximately three titles. We had Lucas, technically 4. Lucas earned his PDC and the first leg of his PSA 1 in one weekend. The video for that, again, is available on YouTube, guys. So you can kind of see how that went. And I'm very happy for Lucas. That was his first time on the trial field, so he was successful, and all the work that he's put in over the last year really paid off for him and his dog Hammy. The other persons that were successful, Paul and Hildy, earned their IGP2 last weekend at the Grand River Schützen Club. So it was quite a good showing from them. 88, 91, 93, and 91 points. So out of 300. So a very good, strong showing. Again, that's their third time taking the trial field and their third title earned. And just to be clear, guys, most people, when they go on the trial field for the first few times, they fail more than they succeed. But these guys are not failing, right? And then we had Carson. Those of you that follow the channel, you know who Carson is, that young whippersnapper. And Carson and his new dog, Rocco, earned their BH last weekend at the Grand River Schützen Club. And they earned high BH. That's Carson's second high BH. The first high BH he earned with Vasco on his very first BH. This is his very second BH. And surprise, surprise, it was a high BH. I love seeing the people that I train with and that I coach win. I love seeing them succeed. I love seeing them do well. It is truly rewarding. I never thought it would be actually this rewarding. So I just like to mention the success they're having. Also, peripherally, friend of mine, Jack, and his dog, Ike, earned high protection at that very same trial and also had some respectable scores. So congratulations to them. I'm very happy for their success as well. As you guys know, I compete in the sport. I take the sport very seriously, and I compete in it, and I work very hard at it. And even when I'm not trialing, it's fantastic to see, people that I train with or that I've helped along the way at some point or other doing well with their dogs. It's truly rewarding. And I'm going to talk to you guys about a few keys to success when it comes to trialing, because I see a lot of people going up there and they're repeatedly failing, right? They're not able to have the success that they dream of having with their dogs. So we're going to talk about some of the keys to success before we jump to the next topic. Also, this was very timely, this success, because in the last few days, something has come up with my personal dog, Chico, a very serious training issue that may preclude him from competing at the upcoming regionals. In fact, it probably will preclude him from competing at the upcoming regionals. And it's a very difficult for me, obviously, because I've put in so much work with him, and over the last 5 months, I've been working really, really hard with Chico. So, for this to occur, and no, I'm not going to get into the details of it, for this to occur so close to our upcoming trial is fairly sad for me. I'm hoping that it's something that we will be able to work past and move forward in a productive way. But right now, it's obviously a bit difficult, and it's nice to see that those that, that are around me are doing well. So I'm very happy for that. Let's talk about keys to success. Let's talk about why these young guys are going, and I say young in the context of they're young in dog sport. They're not experienced in dog sport. They haven't been in well, Jack has been, but I'm not talking about Jack. These, Carsons, the Pauls, the Lucases. These are people that are taking the trial field for, the first few times, and they're always coming away with a title for the most part. And let's talk about the keys to success. So, key to success number one, the fundamentals. The fundamentals is the key to success, right? Because number one, a lot of people skip past the fundamentals. They don't have a dog that has strong things like healing, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, healing's only 15 points. Yeah, healing's only 15 points, but your dog literally needs to heal from exercise to exercise. If your dog doesn't love healing, if your dog doesn't have a good emotional connection with healing, if your dog doesn't look good in the healing, then everything else is probably not going to go very well, right? Healing is the glue that holds it all together. So if your healing is crap, whether you do PSA or IGP or probably most other dog sports, it's not going to go well for you. You need to have good fundamentals. Your dog needs to emotionally recharge in the healing. Okay, very important. A lot of people really underestimate this. Emotionally recharge means your dog feels so good about healing. They get a little dopamine rush. They get a little boost. Oh, I love doing this. This makes me so happy, right? So even if the exercise itself that the dog is doing maybe didn't go so well, or the dog made a mistake, or maybe the dog even has some stress associations with the specific exercise that you just did with your dog, the healing to the next exercise should recharge your dog. It should make your dog happy again. It should put your dog in a high level of drive and arousal so that you can start the next exercise full power again, regardless of what happened in the last exercise. So healing is a fundamental thing that you will see in all of those individuals, and their videos are available on the YouTube channel. I have not posted Carson's BH yet. I will post it shortly. But you see that they all have happy dogs in the healing, active, aroused dogs in the healing. And that is a big key to success. Okay? The other thing, knowing the routine. And you know the routine not because you read about it in the rules book 10 minutes before you went on the field. You know the routine because you have practiced the routine with and without your dog time and time again before you stepped on the field. You've practiced all the steps. You've practiced doing all the things that you need to do, whether it's a IGP-1 or an IGP-3, a BH, PSA-1, whatever it is that you need to do. You know the routine through and through. You know what you need to know. You have a good understanding of the exercises. You've read the rules, so you know how the judge is supposed to look at the exercises, and you're very comfortable and confident out there. One thing you'll see, with Carson and with Paul, specifically because we're in the sport of IGP where there is a set routine, is they're very comfortable out there on the field. They're moving around calm. They're not hectic. They're not, sweating. They're not looking around all nervous. They're just calm. They're moving. They're half asleep out there because they've done it 1,000 times, knowing the routine. Knowing the routine. And then the last piece, trial prep. Okay? Trial prep happens on your home training field, properly preparing your dog for the trial, properly understanding how your dog is going to respond to trial conditions where there is a lack of reinforcement, both positive and negative, and then also making sure that your dog has gone to other places and appropriately trial prepped. A lot of people neglect this and they don't do it properly. Again, I have a whole course on this. I have a whole course on all of this stuff, to be quite honest with you. ShieldK9Online.com. Feel free to check it out. I got courses on every aspect of dog training, whether it's your pet or whether you have a sport dog. But that's neither here nor there. Fundamentally, your dog needs to have strong fundamentals. You need to know the routine, and you need to trial prep properly. And you will go to the trial and have a good, reasonable chance of being successful. Much more than the cross our fingers and pray, right? But a lot of people don't do these things. They don't do it all properly. They say they have strong fundamentals. They don't. Their dog can't heal more than 20 steps without getting his ball or getting an e-collar correction. Otherwise, it all falls apart. They don't know the routine properly. They don't understand what exercises are the most valuable exercises. They don't trial prep. They don't show their dog enough of the pictures that the dog needs to see so that when the dog goes out on trial day, the dog is comfortable. This is why they constantly fail. And the last thing, actually, I said this was the last thing. There's one more thing. There are a lot of people that do not have the right dog for the right job. There are many dogs I see that go on the trial field that do not want to be there. They don't want to be there. It's a pet dog. It's a nice pet dog, right? Keep the dog at home where they're happy. Take them for walks in the woods. Play fetch with them in the field. They don't want to trial. They don't want to do that bite sports, right? The dog doesn't have the drive. The dog doesn't have the ancestry. The dog just doesn't have it in here where it counts, and the dog doesn't really want to be there. I lose track of how many people forcing dogs to do it that don't want to do it, right? And I'm talking in the low levels. In the high levels, you don't go to the high levels with a dog that doesn't want to be there. But I see in many low-level trials, there's dogs that they don't want to do it. Their heart isn't in it. It's a struggle for them to get through the routine, right? Why? Why are you putting the dog Why are you putting the dog through all of this? If I took a dog for IGP, I don't care what the breeding is. If I took a dog for IGP and I start training and I realize this dog's heart is not really here, he doesn't really want to do this, I'm going to find that dog a nice, active family home, and that's what that dog is going to do. Or I'm going to find that dog another job that is more suitable to what that dog is. But a lot of people just try and force it with dogs that aren't suitable, especially in PSA, right? No offense, PSA guys. You know, in IGP, I think it's a bit less common. But in PSA, I see a lot of dogs, man, they're there and it's like, man, this dog doesn't want to be here. You know, this isn't really for him. He doesn't want it. He's not going to ever be successful. You're going to keep bashing your head against the wall, going out over and over again, and your dog's going to fail you over and over again. And it's like, why? Why are you doing that? It's not the right dog. You know, put your time and effort into a dog that is the right dog for that thing that you want to do, and find your dog something else to do, or find your dog somewhere else to be that will make your dog happier, and it will make you happier. But that's not a very popular thing to say, but I will say it. I personally will never train it. Like if someone brings me a dog for sport, and I see that the dog is just, the heart is not in it, I will not train that dog. So that's on the winning side. Let's talk about the other things. Upcoming things. We're going to be at the Ottawa Pet Expo first week of June. I'm also going to be at Quebec Regionals May 19th and 20th. Myself and Carson actually will be at Quebec Regionals. I think Jack's coming too, so Jack will be there too. That's great. You know, and a bunch of other guys that you might recognize from my channel will be there, and it'll be a good time. So I'm going to be competing Gage for sure at the Quebec Regionals. Like I said earlier, unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to pull Chico, just because we've had some pretty heavy training stuff come up that I think is going to disqualify us from trialing for the next little bit, which is very unfortunate for me, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And then I think that's everything that we have in the near future. So let's talk a little bit about Europe. Okay, so I just recently went to the Netherlands, where I went to one of my favorite vendors to deal with, Police Dog Center Holland, and they were very, very accommodating there. Very, what's the word? They're very good hosts. You know, I'll tell you this: there is no vendor I've ever been to that's been as nice to me as Police Dogs Holland. These guys pick you up from the airport an hour and a half away. They drive you. They book the hotel for you. You go into the hotel. They drive you to the facility for testing the dogs. Really, really hospitable guys, super friendly. You know, everybody on the team there is fantastic to deal with. So I really like dealing with Police Dog Center Holland and Arnold, who owns the place, and then all the trainers that work there. Really good guys, really good guys. So, you know, shout out to them. Got to see a lot of dogs there. You know, as usual, I went through them with a fine-tooth comb, and, you know, just picked a group of dogs. It was, you know, a very busy 2 days, testing, seeing a lot of different dogs. You know, those guys do some really cool stuff. They have some really cool contracts. I'm not going to get into the details of it. Suffice to say, you know, they do a lot of big government contracts, a lot of international contracts. So if you're after 1 or 2 dogs, don't bother them. They're not for you. They're more of a B2B kind of company. So, you know, if you're a vendor that, you know, is serious about obtaining like more than, you know, a couple of working dogs, they're fantastic to go to, because you can see a lot of dogs there in a relatively short period of time, and they have a fantastic facility for testing and vetting the dogs. I was able to get x-rays the same day that I looked at the dogs, and I was able to send those x-rays to my vet. As you guys know, x-rays are super important, or maybe you don't know. We check all the dogs that we buy, and we x-ray them to make sure that their joints are healthy. And then, of course, we have our vet look over these x-rays and give us his opinion on the x-rays, and we also get their opinion at Police Dog Center Holland, their opinion on the x-rays. So very much appreciative. You know, somebody said to me when I was there, what was it? It was actually one of the employees. He's like, so like, you have no problem with people knowing that you come here to buy dogs? Like, don't you think they're going to like skip you and go to me, go to us? I'm like, I don't care. If they want to do that, then they're not the client for me anyways. The clients that buy from me, that buy dogs from me, they're buying from me not just because I'm flipping dogs. They're buying from me because they trust that we have good dogs. They trust our guarantees. They trust that we have put the time and the effort and the expertise into going and testing those dogs, ensuring that those dogs have the good fundamental environmental nerves, courage, grip and drive behavior, all the things that they're looking for in a dog, right? And we're taking these green dogs, and then of course we're training these dogs, and we're putting hours and hours of expert training, and in many cases months of expert training into these dogs. So that's what they're buying, right? So I don't have a problem with them. I'm demystifying a lot of this bullshit. A lot of people are like, think like I know a lot of vendors like try to treat Europe like it's like some super secret like thing, like, oh, you have to like know all these special people, and for sure you have to have contacts and you have to have people that are willing to work with you, like the guys at Police Dog Center Holland. They're very nice to deal with, like Lars and all the guys there. I really like dealing with them. We see eye to eye. They know what kind of I like now because I've been there a couple times, and everything just works really well. And that's important. But at the end of the day, either you're a dog flipper or you have expertise in this field. You're able to evaluate the dogs. You're able to look at the dog and say, this dog is not so good, and this dog is good. This dog is strong here, this dog is weak there. And then you have, of course, the health testing and all this type of stuff. And then you bring the dogs here and you train them. You don't just let them sit in the kennel and sell them off, right? This is not what a good vendor does. A good vendor puts the time, the effort, and the work in, whether the dog goes to a police department or whether we're training a lead protection dog. It doesn't particularly matter. So I have no problem with people knowing that I went to Europe and I got a dog here, there, or anywhere else. So yeah, it was a very positive trip. Good trip. I definitely enjoy the. I'm looking forward. All these dogs are going to be coming in a week, and we're going to have some really cool police dogs. We're going to have some cool protection dogs. So the whole team here is excited, right? We get some new dogs to play with, some new dogs to train. Everybody's amped up and excited. For breedings, I know some people were asking us about breedings. I have a nice female here that I'm waiting. There's a couple of females that I'm waiting to go into heat. Female number 1, Bang. You guys know Bang. When she goes into heat, I will breed her. And then the female number 2 is actually, what's her name? Hurricane, female number 2, right? If she goes into heat before she's sold, I will breed her again too. I'll breed her, right? And I'm excited to get puppies with her. I'll probably breed her to Chico, in case you're wondering. So we'll have some really cool sables and some blacks, I think, in that litter. So very exciting. We love having the puppies here. We're already sold out of puppies. I think we might have one more puppy. I'm not sure. In terms of like the S litter, they're all gone. But we need more puppies. We need more puppies to train. We need more puppies to sell. So we actually have a couple of really nice puppies in train. We got Riker, we got Roman, really cool puppies. Oh, she's dead. All right, guys, I'm going to get through these questions here. I'm going to scroll back up. Have you ever, so Danny Kreckman says, have you ever had your dog start submitting to you when you want to play, train, vet check went well, maybe I stepped on her or accidentally stimulated her on the collar and didn't realize? Any thoughts? Yes, if your dog doesn't want to play with you, that's generally a sign that what you're doing in the play is not particularly rewarding, and it's more stressful than it is enjoyable for the dog. So you need to look at how you play with the dog and change it. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Lucas in the chat. Thanks for all your help, buddy. Oh, thank you, man. You're helping me with the boxing. He and Lucas are doing a skill exchange. He helps me become less incompetent with the hands, and I help him become slightly less incompetent with the dog. What else do we got here? Can you talk? So Ty says, can you talk about how you allow other people to interact, great play with a dog, puppy for sport, and living with your family? Do you let strangers pet? Can you play tug with dog or give it commands? Yeah, I don't overthink it, you know. It's pretty simple stuff, right? Like, I take the puppy out, I socialize the puppy. If the puppy's worried about other people, I don't let them touch it. If the puppy is fine and social, I don't mind if the puppy goes and somebody pets the puppy briefly. Strange people don't need to be giving my dog commands or playing tug. That's something I do with my dog, but it's not a problem, right? It's not something I worry about too much. Let's see what else we got here. Jonah, random question. My 6-month-old German Shepherd is submissive peeing almost over everything. When I go to pet him, leash him, or even play sometimes, it'll just splatter. Any advice? Yes, start giving your dog food and be very cold with the dog, so to speak. As in, don't try and be like, hey, buddy. Just be very impassive with the dog. Just give him food. Don't try to loom over him. Don't put any kind of pressure, voice pressure, physical presence pressure. Just be very kind of offhand with the dog. Take the dog, leash the dog up. It's that initial, pressure from the social interaction, even if you're being nice, that often causes the accident. Usually they grow out of it, so hopefully he grows out of it shortly. We have some, let's see what else we got here. I'm going to, so Quorum is wasting everybody's time. How do I, let's see here. I'm going to remove him. You don't deserve to be on this live if you're going to be bringing negativity. Anybody that wants to ask or say something constructive is welcome, even if you're not agreeing with me. You want to bring negativity and make asinine, childish remarks, I will just ban you and you can go be on somebody else's live. Any opinions on taking, a young puppy camping concerning age, vaccines, exposing the puppy to water, wildlife, thunderstorms? I think it's good. Do it. And for sure, bring a crate. What do you do when a dog doesn't respond to an e-collar? Every dog responds to an e-collar. What you mean is, what do you do when you don't know how to train with an e-collar? You slap one on a dog, you push buttons, and nothing productive happens. I don't do that, so it's not something for me. You're welcome to, there's a lot of different courses out there on e-collar training. I have some free stuff on YouTube. I have an entire book on it called No Nonsense Dog Training. I strongly suggest you look that up. I have online courses, Elite Off-Leash Obedience Training, which goes deep into how to e-collar train a dog through all the functional behaviors. Better built dogs. I wonder if they are more in PSA because they don't have tracking, so it's just a little bit easier with less time and they don't know what's up. Oh, you're talking about people that are in PSA with dogs that are clearly not suited to do well in that sport? Absolutely. Absolutely. PSA is for sure good because there's no tracking, but it makes up for it in other ways. You have to be a little bit more careful with the kind of dog you play in that sport with, otherwise you're not going to be successful. And for me, I understand there's some people that are just happy to show up, and whether they pass or fail, it's not a big deal for them. I'm one of those people that cares. I know Lucas, for instance, is a type of guy that cares. He's competitive, he wants to win, and he doesn't want to have a dog sitting next to him, and just as I don't, that doesn't have the heart, drive, or desire to do the sport, tracking or no tracking. So, fundamentally, it's up to you to understand the sport you're in and understand the type of dog you need in order for that dog to do well in the sport and to enjoy the sport. And then the training comes, obviously, after that. There's a lot of people that don't put in the right training. They don't put in the right trial prep. And you see the dog being fundamentally unprepared. Let's see here. Has, why is it some GSDs have such a loud, deep bark while others don't? Like really have bass to it. Is it genetics? For sure. Just like individuals, you'll have dogs with different voices, so on and so forth. Um, but also it could be, why is the dog barking? If the dog is barking in a territorial behavior, the dog is in a state of defense, or behind a fence, barrier frustration, what have you, that's going to be a certain type of bark. If the dog is in prey, if the dog is playing, that's going to be a different type of bark. So the emotion the dog is in and the reason for the dog barking has a big impact on the sound that comes out of their mouth. Let's see here, what else we got. Let's see. How can you teach my dog to be comfortable with the pool? How can I teach your dog to be comfortable with the pool? Well, it just so happens among the announcements that Shield Canine, Guelph, and Ottawa will very shortly have regulation-sized dock diving pools, along with all the nice things that you want a dock diving pool to have, the 40-foot deck, so on and so forth. So feel free to give us a call, and you can sign up for a swimming lesson. We'll bring your dog here, and we'll show them how to swim. Let's see here, what else we got. N says, hi Haz, really enjoy your content. I saw your video where you explained you worked full-time and had 2 IGP dogs. How successful can a new handler be at sports, balancing a job with IGP or PSA? Thank you. You can be very successful. It was literally what I did in my spare time. I think if you're working a job or a career, it's healthy to have a hobby. It's healthy to engage in a sport of some sort, both for you and for the dog. And it's not at all a problem. You're GSD curious. That's funny. That's a funny statement. How would you know what breed is best for you? Well, that's a good question. I would say, okay, well, what do I want to do with the dog, right? How do I want to live with the dog? What's the lifestyle that we're going to do? Do I want to do dog sport? Do I want to use the dog for something, guard work, hunting, whatever it is, and then go from there, right? And say, okay, well, I know what I want to do with the dog. The dog needs to then be able to do this. That's going to narrow the scope significantly. You want a guard dog, you want a protection dog. Well, that's going to narrow the scopes very strongly to you're going to be dealing with 4 or 5 breeds. Then you're going to look at those 4 or 5 breeds, look at your lifestyle, and make the appropriate, selection. Brad Wood says, do you think a working line dog that is reactive will not be reactive with training, or will that always be a work in progress? Brad, I suggest you look at my YouTube channel. There are many, many examples of people that, sorry, hold on a second. Remove. Good. There are many examples of, working line dogs that we have fixed the reactivity on. Now, do you mean that once the reactivity is fixed, that you will never have to do anything to continue to reinforce the training that was put into the dog and hold the dog accountable to good behavior? Well, of course not. Whether it's a sit or reactivity, if you don't reinforce the training, of course the training will fall by the wayside, right? Take a simple command like sit, for instance, okay? The most simplest command in all of dog training, let's say. Don't reward the sit, don't correct the sit, ever. And keep asking your dog to sit. See how long he sits for, right? Very quickly you'll find that your dog doesn't want to sit anymore. And it applies to all of those, anything you can think of. Why don't you really like Dobermans? Define really like. It's not a dislike problem. Like, I don't have a dislike for any breed of dog. Like, they are what they are. It's like saying, why don't you like, I don't know, Toyota Camrys? Well, I don't dislike Toyota Camrys. What I don't like is when people want to pretend a Toyota Camry is a Ford F-150, because it's not. They don't do the same things. They don't have the same qualities. They're not for the same type of individual, and they don't fulfill the same needs. If you are aware of the Doberman and all the things that come along with a Doberman and all the things that don't come with a Doberman, there's nothing wrong with the breed whatsoever. And I say that as a proud Doberman owner currently. Kathy, did you really ask me if I had a dog, bro? What's going on today? There seems to be a lot of people that are struggling with the IQ challenged. I struggle with feeling guilt for using a correction after engaging with some of the R plus people. Do you have any advice for getting over their programming? Kathleen, you shouldn't be so emotionally susceptible to the programming of others. Number one, the guilt predisposes, like if you're experiencing guilt, then that means you don't actually think what you're doing is right. So if you don't think what you're doing is right, then why are you doing it, right? When I correct a dog, it is because I believe it is the right thing to do. If I felt guilt for the act of correcting the dog, then I would know that what I did was wrong, or I would know that I have the perception that what I did was wrong, right? So it's the same with the children, right? I love the kids. Now, sometimes I feel bad when they have to be corrected, when they have to be punished, when they have to receive a consequence for an action that they did that requires a consequence that is not pleasing to them, right? Because I love the children very much. It's, it can be difficult, but it doesn't make me guilty. Guilty implies knowing I did something wrong, right? I can do something that's hard. I can do something and say, listen, this is going to make my son really sad. He's going to cry. But I got to be really tough on him, because I know that if he does X again, then there is a risk to him. There's a chance that this could lead to, let's say, really bad behavior down the road. It's a safety act, whatever it is, whatever reason it is that I'm correcting him. So for instance, I'll give you an example that really applies to dog training. Once my son was taken out of the car, and he's 4 years old at the time, right? We took him out of the car, and his mother told him, stand next to me while I get your brother out of the car. And he didn't listen, and he walked away from her in the parking lot. And I came around, grabbed him very firmly by the arm, and I said, hey, what are you doing? Where are you going? And I raised my voice, and I put a ton of social pressure on him. I grabbed him very firmly by the arm, so he felt my grip, right? Like, it was a bit physically uncomfortable. It was socially uncomfortable. It was emotionally uncomfortable for him. And, I told him, you could get hit by another car. You see that car over there? It's going to come. It's going to hit you. You have to stay next to your mom. And he was crying, and he was upset, and he was emotionally disturbed by what happened. And it was an aversive experience for him. And I knew that in that moment, I had to make it an extremely aversive experience, because we can't afford for him to walk out in front of a vehicle, right? It's a legitimate safety hazard. Did I feel bad making the little guy cry like that? Of course I did. Nobody wants to make their child cry. Nobody wants their child to be sad. But was his sadness necessary? Was that aversive experience necessary for his safety? Hell yeah. Of course it is. And he's a child. He's a creature of impulse. He's solipsistic. I'm not going to be able to, listen, man, like, you can't go in front of the other cars, because if you go in front of the other cars, you might get hit. No, he's not able to understand that, like, chain of logic and cause and effect. He's 4 freaking years old. Your dog is the same as like a 3 or 4 year old, right? They don't understand cause and effect. They don't understand that not coming when they're called is a really bad thing. They don't understand that being reactive and aggressive will severely impede their quality of life and the ability for them to go out in public and do fun things like go on off-leash walks and stuff like this. They don't understand, right? You have to communicate with them in a simple way that they do understand. Them understanding the reason why is not important. Them just understanding I can do this and I can't do this is what's important. And only someone that is, let's say, logically bankrupt would suggest that there's anything wrong with doing that to a child or to a dog. And I know that there are many of these logically bankrupt individuals running around in this day and age claiming down is up and up is down, and they should be ignored, right? Many of them have purple hair and nose rings. Not that there's anything wrong with purple hair and nose rings, but I do find that there seems to be a significant correlation between that and people that seem to believe these stupid things that have no logical, no grounding in logic, reality, or nature, right? So being a good steward of your dog means that you're doing things that sometimes, unfortunately, your dog might not like, but are in the best interest of your dog. When you go to the vet, do you feel guilty when your dog gets a vaccine to prevent them from getting rabies? I don't. Now, if the puppy cries when he's getting the rabies shot, do I feel bad, right? Yeah, I'll be like, man, I'm sorry it hurt. I'm sorry you're stressed. But you know what? It's for the best in the long run. And that's what we do for our children, and we should do the same for our dogs, and the same for those around us, right? Yesenia says, is it possible to correct a dog for recalling a bit too hard? Nico has been blitzing me and my son. Oh, that's always fun. When they come so fast and they hit you with their body, absolutely. When I call you and you come, and your dog is e-collar trained, so when he hits you, simply correct him with the e-collar. Don't say a word. The second his body hits your body, tick, right? And let him know. This behavior is unacceptable. Every time you do this, something negative happens. This is another example, right? Dog is exuberant. Dog loves making physical contact with the handler. I've seen this many times, by the way, to the point where the dog will literally body slam a handler so that they fall over. Right? Not safe, not a good thing. Dog doesn't know that, but you just make it negative every time the dog makes that physical, contact with you. Right? Something bad happens every time he does it, and very quickly he'll realize that's not such a good idea. Synth Sylvan says, I bought your reactivity bundle. I'm a bit confused on how many sessions I should be on the prong before I switch to the e-collar. Also, do I switch to the e-collar after I fix the reactivity or not? If you're talking about the Elite Off Leash course, the Elite Off Leash course is in the reactivity bundle. If you're working your way through the obedience courses, you are progressing when your dog is able to do the things that you are working on, right? So like, for instance, if you're working on and I'm very clear about the progression in the course, so I strongly suggest you watch that Elite Off Leash course, right? But it's organized week to week, right? So if you finish week 2 and your dog's able to do all the things in week 2 and you go to week 3, well, follow all the directions in week 3. And I'm pretty clear about how I move off the off the prong collar to the other training tools that we use. But if your dog is not able to do the fundamental things that they should be able to do with the tools that you're using at the time, then of course you must stay there, do the fundamentals, make sure they're correct before you move forward. Also, ask in the Facebook group. That's a better place for it. And you can share a video if you like. Reactive Pitbull made corrections biblical with the prong, but he takes it like nothing, and he knows loose leash walking. You didn't make it biblical with the prong, Joel. Right? You're relying on a tool, and you did all you can do with that tool, and it still didn't work. If it was biblical, the dog would tell you that it was biblical, but he's telling you it's not biblical. For him, right? He doesn't care. Whatever you did, it wasn't enough, and now you must take that information and move forward, right? For us, when we deal with reactivity, we're not dependent on any one tool because we understand that tools all have limitations and dogs perceive tools differently. At the end of the day, a punishment is a punishment and a reward is a reward. Yeah. Kathy seems to be stuck in a loop, so I'm just going to try and get rid of her. Banned. All right. Let's see. Larry Anderson. My 2-year-old working line German Shepherd barks and growls at strangers who attempt to pet her without permission. I tell them no, but sometimes they try to move in and pet her. Best way to tell them no. No! Larry, what's going on, man? Sometimes people tell me this kind of stuff. It's like, I've been in public with my dogs for many a year, and I have never had someone ignore me um, and try to pet the dog. Maybe be a little bit more assertive. Don't touch my dog. And usually if my dog's growling and barking, which I don't really allow, but if it was to happen, most people would then be like, ooh, okay, no touchy, right? People need to just get more assertive. Feel free, tell them to fuck off. What does mental maturity mean to you, especially with respect to protection dogs? It means that the dog is not acting like a puppy anymore. And some dogs are a little bit more delayed in that than others, right? There are some dogs that they act like a puppy, and they have very puppyish behaviors, very playful behaviors. You can see, they're still very scatterbrained, and they're just very much childlike in their behavior. Like just somebody, if you say they're very immature, what do we mean when we say a human being is immature? They act like a child. They act like an undeveloped individual. And when you observe this in a dog, okay, well, he's a little bit late mentally, so we let him develop a little more before we do things that would be appropriate to that level of mentality, right? IK9 says, hey Haz, would you rather correct a dog for fixating on other dogs to redirect the focus on you, something else with a higher stim on the e-collar or with a prong? Are you asking me whether I'd rather use an e-collar or a prong? Neither. I don't actually particularly use either for reactivity. Music Only says, guys, don't forget to give the goat a like. Well, I truly appreciate that. And yes, I would appreciate some likes. There's 125 people watching this. It costs you nothing to hit that like button. Hit the like button. Do you match the energy of a dog's unwanted behavior when applying correction, or does it need to be more than his output? It 100% needs to be more than his output. Fishing for Fatties. I like that name. My Doberman grew up paying more attention to his environment than the person he heels to. He's great at home, but he looks at me for a maximum of 2 seconds outside. How do I work on building it up? Well, Fishing for Fatties, which, again, I love your name. Thar she blows. I would say that your dog does not need to stare at you. It is a pet dog that you are taking for a walk outside. Looking at you is not actually necessary. What your dog needs to do is listen to you. And that is going to come with you just having good fundamentals, the dog respecting the leash. Basically all the fundamentals that I cover in my no-nonsense dog training book and the Elite Off-Leash Obedience Course, right? If your dog understands that they must listen to you, then guess what they're going to do? They're going to check in with you because you're actually kind of important to them. When your dog refuses to check in with you, pay attention to you, and instead focuses on the environment, it is because they don't perceive that there's any value in you or that they even have to. Value comes from two things. Value doesn't just come from bribery, right? This is the mistake a lot of people make, is they assume that all value is bribery based. I give him things, therefore he values me. No. In fact, many people that are givers and they're always giving are not appropriately valued. Value comes from respect. Value comes from, I give nice things, but I also give consequences. Those two things are together. I must be listened to. It's not an option to listen to me. You must listen to me. If you listen to me, good things happen. I'm fun. Lots of nice possibilities exist. If you don't listen to me, well, that's not a very good idea because then something negative happens, right? Either way, I'm important to you and you listen to me. Puppy 7-month-old mouths my arm when he wants something, like wants to go pee or wants to play ball. How do we stop this? Well, you correct him for mouthing you, but then also, stop allowing him to initiate all these things. Is it your program or is it his program, right? For me, the puppy's over there on his bed, and when I'm going to take him outside, I take him outside and I play with him. When I'm going to take him for a walk, I take him for a walk. When I take him to the bathroom, I'm making sure he's getting enough bathroom breaks. He doesn't need to freaking tell me he needs to go to the bathroom unless it's like, an emergency or he's sick or something like this. I'm taking him out to go to the bathroom and he doesn't tell me anything. I tell him when things are going to happen. So make the dog go on your program. Stop being on the dog's program. And this usually happens because the dog is like, oh, he's mouthing me. It must mean something. What is it, boy? What do you want? Oh, let me take him outside. And he happened to pee when I took him outside. Therefore, oh, he must have been mouthing me. No, he was just bothering at you. He was bored. He was mouthing you like a lot of puppies do. You went and you did something, therefore reinforcing the behavior and increasing the likelihood that he will then do it again because he just happened to pee or whatever it is he did when he went outside, or you pulled the ball out and played with him or whatever it is that you did. He's like, oh, I touch this guy with my mouth and nice things happen. Good things happen. Something freaking happens. Okay, I'm going to keep doing that, right? You must train your dog. Don't let your dog train you. Have you ever used a goon for training? Better than spanking or any other harsh training method? Goon. What the hell is a goon? I don't know what you're talking about, to be honest with you. And what do you mean spanking? Like I put the dog across my knee and I give him some swats on the butt? Spanking is only for certain individuals, but it's not for dogs. Hey, Haz, I have a question. So my black DDR working line German Shepherd is working on target bark right now. Is it okay for them to whine a little bit in between? She target barks on command still, but she whines between. Yeah, I mean, look, if the dog's a little bit like, woo, whoa, 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 woo, whoa, 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 that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Common bloodlines in the German Shepherd lines that you have seen that produce strong working dogs. Don't mention DDR or Zub, LOL. Who do I like? I mean, I've seen some nice dogs out of Pepper von Cap Carthago. I've seen some nice dogs out of Blade von Wolfsprung. You know, I like the Staatsmark dogs. I like the Eisenkrauts dogs. You know, there's a lot of them out there. There's some nice Jabina dogs that I've seen. You know, Sartoris dogs are pretty nice too. I've seen some of those. There's a lot of different ones, you know. It's just kind of, there's too many to really list. There's not like, oh, these are the only ones, you know. There's a lot of different ones out there. Okay, let's see what else we got here. How do you make a living training dogs? Well, luckily, I happen to be good at training dogs. I say with, you know, little humility, I guess, and people are willing to pay for something that you are good at. My pit has an addiction, fetch nonstop, and she stresses out when she can't reach it. Yeah, well, definitely, you know, limit that. It's not that you don't do it, it's that you just don't do it all the time, and not allow the dog to engage in obsessive behaviors. You got to give her some structure and not just let her kind of wander around looking for something to do. Utilizing the place command, having nice structure in the home is important for this. Much love from Vancouver. Keep doing what you're doing. Love all the advice. I appreciate that. Lee says, I always say either you discipline your child or society will. The same way you have to discipline dogs to keep them safe as well. We all need discipline. Like, think about people with no discipline, right? People with no discipline tend to be terrible human beings, right? They tend to be entitled. They tend to be very fragile. They can't handle any kind of, you know, negative things, whether it's environmental, whether it's interpersonal. You know, they're always looking to blame somebody for their problems. They're not able to control themselves in any way. They often suffer from a variety of ailments that are, let's say, physical and mental in nature that are completely of their own making, whether they admit it or not. You know, listen, similar things happen to dogs, right? Discipline is essential. Whether it's the discipline to say, you know what, I'm not going to eat 3 cupcakes, I'll just eat 1, right? Or I'm going to go to the gym even though I don't really feel like going to the freaking gym, right? You know, I'm pissed off at this individual. They've upset me, and, you know, I'm not going to blow up. I'm going to handle this in a cool, calm, and collected way. And we've all failed in the area of discipline, but we've also, I would hope, all succeeded to some degree. And the amount of discipline you're able to levy upon your life and utilize on a day-to-day basis, I would say, is a huge facet of your success as an individual. It's important for us to provide this to our children and provide this to our dogs, right? What is the cheapest, highest you should pay for a high-quality working line German Shepherd that you want for sport? I mean, I don't know what people are charging these days, but I would say anything less than $2,000 would be really weird. And I've seen puppies upwards of $5,000, so it really depends. Well, let's see here. What else do we have? How do you teach a dog to stop lagging in the heel? Only an issue off leash. I cannot afford an e-collar. Well, you got a leash. Listen, it's like anything. I'm not going to get into all the nitty gritty of it because we could talk about it for 15 minutes. But fundamentally, you have to make it uncomfortable behind you and make it comfortable beside you. And when you figure out how to do that, you won't have a dog that lags anymore. Kathleen, social media is indeed a double-edged sword. There's a lot of good information on it, and there's a lot of terrible people with nothing better to do with their lives on it. Kenya in the house. Good to see you. Mr. Peanut Butter, thank you very much. Appreciate the like. The Freedom Method says, wait, what do you do for reactivity if not e-collar and prong? I feel like I should just buy the Elite Off Leash course. Well, the Elite Off Leash course is fantastic if you want complete off leash obedience. You want to know how to use those devices properly. The Elite Off Leash course does not actually cover reactivity, covers functional obedience, which is actually a very key, it's a key component to fixing reactivity. I have a reactivity course where I go over different ways that you can correct the dog. For me personally, with my personal dogs, I don't really generally use tools because it's not necessary. But that's my personal thing. With the course, I show you how to use the tools properly and the various tools that you can use and the effect that they will have on the dog. And if it doesn't work, what to do, blah, 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 right? And that is the reactive course. Do I have an audio book? I'm dyslexic, so reading sucks. I do not at this time. Hopefully I will work on it and get one. How do you stop food aggression? Well, I have a course on that. um, you know, Fundamentally, you got to make control around the food, and you got to disabuse the dog of the notion that you're there to steal his food and that you're competing for his food. How do Amazon cheap e-collars compare to something like the Mini Educator? Yeah, don't get them. Don't get them. Are there any more kennels more famous than Tinkerhook? I always see Tinkerhook get mentioned. Synth, you see Tinkerhook get mentioned by people that really don't know dogs and don't really train. There's some kennels that are like, there's some things that are popular. So like dog Facebook. I call it dog Facebook. Like all the people on all these dog groups that are like group experts and stuff. You break it into three categories. So you've got the professionals. You've got, the people that actually do this thing, like yours truly, that, have a lot of experience with the German Shepherds and the Malinois, that train them, that know the pedigrees, that compete with the dogs, that breed them, so on and so forth. And we all tend to kind of be together in the same groups, right? Because birds of a feather flock together. And then you've got like the more general groups where like usually people like you end up because you're like looking for information. And usually the people that are in these groups that talk the most and act like they're experts know shit all. But they know enough to appear to be an expert to the uneducated, uninformed, so on and so forth. Back in the day when we used to have forums like the German Shepherd forums, these people were also very prolific on there. And they know enough. They do some like half-ass training a little bit, and it impresses people that don't know anything because they're like, oh, this person really sounds knowledgeable, and they're talking about all these things, and there's a little video of them, with their dog, and you can't personally see that the dog is not being well trained or that the dog is maybe not of a high caliber or quality. And so it impresses you, and the things that they say like Tinkerhook have great weight. The reality is that I don't really know anybody that's competing with any kind of intention that is using those dogs. And unfortunately, Koos Hassing did pass away recently, and I think what dogs he had left were all sold off. Not that I would be particularly interested in those dogs because I don't think there's anything unique that those dogs had that you can't find in great profusion in other lines and with other dogs. But that's my own personal opinion. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to be wrapping it up shortly. Bite for Fun says, I carry a copy of No Nonsense Dog Training with me to sessions and reference it often. Love the YouTube content. Well, I appreciate that. What age did you begin training dogs? I believe I was 23. And I worked with them before that, by the way, as a job. Have you found alfalfa blue blood bulldogs to be aggressive? Well, the worst bite I ever suffered was from one, so yes, they can be indeed quite aggressive. How do you discern between a focus heel and a casual walking heel? Should you have a different command? You should have a different command and a different set of expectations. Your dog stock is so impressive in person. Amazing watching. Well, I appreciate that, Hokie. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to kind of rush now a little bit. BJTV says, Blue JTV, I guess. Love your content. I purchased the course about a month ago, the Power Obedience Pack. Awesome. Well, I hope you're enjoying it. Yesenia says, what is your personal opinion about decoying for your own dog? I thought this was a bad thing, but it seems like a lot of people do it. It's good for sport dogs and not PPD. Well, yes, it is good for sport dogs and not PPD, only if you know what you're doing. You must know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're just going to make more problems than you solve. Also, personal protection dog, fundamentally, like, you could still work on the fundamentals yourself, but the dog must have a real perception of threat. The dog must have a real perception that, there are consequences involved here, that it's going to bring a certain element of urgency and reality to the dog, in the work that the dog is doing. And you certainly cannot do that with your own dog. Okay. What does it take to become part of my team? Well, we are not hiring right now. We might do another apprentice call, but we have not done so yet. Tara McFadden says, week 6 of the off-leash course, 10-month-old puppy in Home Depot did mostly well, but still excitable. Is this puppy behavior? Well, indeed it is. That will go away. Are young dogs more of a challenge typically? Well, I think all dogs retain a level of playfulness well into their old age. Playfulness shouldn't be a problem. A 10-month-old puppy being happy and playful, excited, shouldn't be a problem. But if it's causing them to be disobedient, well, Tara, if you're in the 6th week of the course, you know what to do if the dog is disobedient. This is why we train with incentives and obligation. Use the obligation. I don't care if you're excited. Do what I asked you to do, right? Utilize that training properly. How can I understand my dog better? No nonsense dog training. Read it. You will understand your dog better. I guarantee it. Can you contact me when you have time, sir? Hooked on your videos, by the way. Well, I appreciate that you like my content. I will not be contacting you just because I've got a lot of projects underway and things to do. I have people that I am working with and clients that do require my attention, and these are the people that I'm going to focus on, and they've earned it, so I have to do it, right? Just talking to people because they like my content. Well, I appreciate that you like my content. I'm sorry I don't have time to do that. How do I build my dog's food drive? Well, stop giving them free food and start making the taking of food more fun. I have YouTube videos on this. Ooh, how is Mace doing? Mace is off with his new handler. I hope they're doing well. I haven't heard from them in a couple of months, but last I heard, everything was okay and everybody's alive. How long does your online obedience course take to successfully complete? Can it be used with small companion dogs? It certainly can be used with small companion dogs. I would say, like, there's probably, like, if you got like an 8-pound dog, you could certainly do it. If you've got like a 4 or 5 pound dog, you might want to just stick with food training. Have I ever considered making my own dog breed? No, because what I look for in a dog can be found in a number of different dog breeds. I don't need to remake the wheel, so to speak. Let's see here. Do I have an email that questions may be presented? If you want to pay for a consult and do a consult with me, you can email my team at info@shieldk9.ca, and that can be arranged. Let's see here. Making sure I don't have any more members on here that I haven't answered their question. Okay, I see I have. All right, guys, it was nice talking to all of you. I wish you all a good week, and may you and your dogs have fun this week, and I'll see you on the next one.